Start with the meeting. Awesome. So, hi guys, welcome to the Meshery development call. Let's get started with a few introductions first. So, I see Aniket Ranjan. I guess this is your first Meshery development call. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I am Aniket. Currently, I am working as a software developer intern at Cloud. And yes, I recently joined. Last week only, I joined Meshery. So I'm looking forward to do some good contribution um, to this organization. Yeah.
That's great. Great to have you here. Anyone else? Are there any more newcomers who would like to go ahead and introduce themselves?
Hi everyone.
Hey.
My name is Kersi Ifeanyi. I'm from Nigeria. I just joined Meshery last week. I work as a software developer for Johns Hopkins University, Chupaigbo, in Nigeria. I'm privileged and glad to be here, and I hope to learn as much as possible and also contribute to the open source community. Thank you.
Wonderful. Awesome to have you here. So, anyone else who would like to go? I don't see any more newcomers, I think. Okay, Precious,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Precious from Nigeria. I just recently transitioned into web dev, so currently on front end. I'm really excited about Layer 5 and open source as a whole. So I'm glad to be here.
Hey, Precious, welcome to the community. So, I think we're done with all the newcomers. So let's get started off with the agenda. First off, we have Aditya. Aditya, would you like to speak to your topic?
Yep. Give me a sec. I will share my screen and.
All right, sounds good.
Right. I just hide the panel for a while. And the controls. Yeah. Okay. I hope it's visible. So my work is actually based on the Cobra CLI docs generation to the library itself. So it's all started out from yesterday. Idea was given by Lee actually. So he gave the link and he gave an idea about how about generating the CLI docs for Meshery using the Cobra CLI library itself. So as you can see here, this is the Cube Vela docs actually, and this is actually generated by the SPF3 Cobra library. So if you can see here, they already implemented the functionalities to generate docs in the form of any file format like man, markdown, rest, or YAML. So yesterday I tried implementing the same in the Meshery CTL. So I added some of the functionalities like with prepending the template command that to comply with the existing ones. And yeah, it turned out pretty well. And I had to add a tree first, like inserting the function from so that the command knows like, okay, this is the available commands and the subcommands present in it. And then what the function does is it will generate this is just for sample part actually. So if I give give the command instructions like generate docs in the form of markdown, then it will generate. So what I did is after running the command, it generated several list of markdown files. So I created a sample ones. So after running, this is the result, like the same format, but instead of manually generating the documentation, the Cobra library takes care itself and it generated everything like the title, the synopsis, examples, options, what are all the options inherited from parent commands, and even the link to refer from the parent command, if any. And it will also generate like the footer, like auto-generated by SPF13 if needed. This can be disabled, so I also refer the documentation. And also, yeah, the YAML also turned out pretty well good, but some editing is required, so I will take care of it from after the initial review of this. So, yep, that's my part. And yep, I know it's just a short. Okay.
Aditya, just to confirm, all of the generated, I missed in part what you had said. Just to confirm real quick, of the generated output.
The output.
Massage that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this?
Yes, Lee. This is the generated Markdown file, but I just didn't edit with the real path since I didn't have much time. But this is the generic output, what it will generate for every command and subcommand. So if it's a command, then it will generate like this.
Huh. So Husaina and Navendu and Piyush. Any thoughts on this potential approach? So you're all familiar with how Meshery CTL is currently being generated. I'm sorry, Meshery CTL docs are currently created. As Aditya looks into this, this is under the goal of potentially auto-generating the docs. The goal, it really isn't to change the formatting of the docs themselves, both in terms of their URLs of the reference guide or necessarily of the formatting of the pages themselves. I suspect there'll be a little bit of formatting difference, but even that could be changed if needed.
Yep, that can be changed using this with the given string format and ready out given inputs here in the function.
So Navendu isn't here, I don't think, but Piyush and Husaina, any thoughts?
I joined a little late. The documentation is generated from the commands code, right?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
So how, which particular section you would be looking through in the code? Is it the init function or like the...
Okay. Yeah, I get your question. So to generate the documentation, I had to refer some articles, and then it's like there must be a main function which would call the generated docs from the Cobra CLI library, and then only it would work. So for a while, I have created a sample file which is outside the CLI root of its, as you can see here in the file tree. So I've created a Go file named genDocs. So what it does is that there will be some functions like prepending the Markdown templates. If I didn't give this template, means the output won't be the same. It will be just like without this. So there is an option to generate a customized template. So after giving the constant functions, and this one is for YAML and it's still in work in progress. And there are some functions like prepending the header and the link handler. So this is the main function, like calling the three part. So the command needs to know what are the commands present within the Cobra CLI. So here in this case, I have to create a function in the root file of the Meshery CTL such that it returns the available commands and the subcommands. Like say it's a tree of commands, root command, below that it will be generating a tree, right? So it needs that. So after that only it will generate the Markdown tree. And if the file has been done, then the output will be printed. But for now, I've deleted some of the files and kept only a little just for showcasing the output, else the CA test would fail. To avoid that, I've created a sample one. Yeah.
Okay. So like, let's say system command is there and it has sub commands beneath that. So
Yes.
all those things you have to list in your code, which auto generates a documentation, right? So that's all one needs to do, right?
Yes.
We generate the documentation. Okay.
Or else like one needs to identify which is the root command. Here in this case, it's just the Meshery CTL root. If I just mention like these are all the available commands like name, version, system, pattern. Now, as you can see here, if I run the go command here, then the available entire list of the commands will be printed in the Markdown format. For the YAML, the output is a bit different. I can show here. So this for a while this doesn't comply with the present format of the documentation because it's a bit different than what the Cobra CLI library generates it. So I have ignored it for a while. So I need to figure it out how to manipulate the output. So I kept it aside and focused on the Markdown part. Then so as you asked, like it will generate the entire commands like Meshery CTL system, what are its available commands, sub commands, channel means entire, the whole tree will be printed, the documentation will be generated and then printed. So that's what it does. This minimizes the effort actually.
Yes, this looks really good actually. So because of the framework itself, it can generate usage and everything, right?
Yes.
Options. Yeah. So another question, right? We have the Markdown output format. So the YAML format is for what purpose? I mean, do we use it as of now?
Yes, we use it as of now. I'll just show it. Command template. Oh, give me a sec. So this is the YAML file which contains all the data like the name, description, usage of the command, and the examples. So this is required for the for fetching the output. As you can see here, this would be entirely fetched from this YAML file, and then it would know. Then it would replace this lines of code to the preferred one. Here in this case, it's Meshery CTL.app. But here in this case, it would just print the output what the command library is printed. So if I just take the example of, it's been a while. So if I just check with the called view, then whatever the data given here for in this case, then the example would be printed as same as such. So it depends on what we give in the Meshery CTL files. According to that, it will generate the output over here. That's what it does.
Okay.
Any other queries? I guess we are good then.
Yeah, so silence equals consent for the other Meshery CTL maintainers. Couple of requests that I would have, Aditya, as we push forward. So there's a couple of reasons why to go through this slight pain. And you in specific will, I can't help but smile a little bit, but you in specific will, well, bear both the pain and the fruit of this labor. The pain because you have put into place previously, well, you've done a lot of work on Meshery CTL docs and trying to make them manageable, sustainable. There's a lot of commands. Does anybody recall off the top of their head how many commands we have in Meshery CTL currently? Piyush wrote a blog post on this, and I did a quick line count of the number of lines in Meshery CTL. If you're curious, I'll send a link, or somebody will send a link to the post. But there's a lot of commands, and Aditya has done a lot of work here. He's become a Jekyll whiz, much to, I don't know if he wanted to or not, but I think at this point he is, right? So a couple of things. If the default template, so you haven't had a lot of time to look at this, Aditya, so these are just comments, not at you, but at the effort, which is we don't use underscores in the names of hyperlinks. That's a naughty thing. That's something Google doesn't like much. We use hyphens, so just a super small request. The other one is we would cut off the auto-generated by on the bottom of each file. We don't need that. The other of which is the cleanliness by which this will actually not only eliminate some inconsistencies in the difference between our docs lagging behind the actual functionality in the CLI. This will help eliminate that because these docs will be auto-generated, so that's good. It's nice that the markup is easy enough to style. This will actually help us focus on like styling our docs even better because there's a bit of separation between some of the markup and how it's styled, or the content itself and how it's styled. Granted, inherent to those 3 hashtags and to those 3 tick marks is a translation into HTML, but that's easily styled. And so, and we already have a lot of that style. Like, so to me, this seems like a big win. This seems like one of those frustrating things that it would have been so nice had we discovered this, 6 months ago before we had put in all the work earlier. What this will end up doing though is it'll make it more sustainable and bring higher quality. It will reduce the duplicity, the repeating of ourselves in our current docs. There's an uncomfortable amount of repeating ourselves in the Meshery CTL reference guide, which, by the way, Aditya, for most folks on here, for some of the folks on here who might not be familiar with like the actual reference guide, I'm putting that link into Zoom right now so everyone can go see what the docs are today for Meshery CTL. And Aditya, just to confirm, like in your mind, if you were done with what you were just showing, in essence, the intention is that users or readers of the reference guide, they may not even be able to tell a difference between what's currently published and the auto-generated stuff. Is that about right?
Yep, that's right.
Any other comments for Aditya?
So basically, how would we see this on the website? We would have to push this into a data file, right? The YAML.
For now, the YAML has been troubling me for a while because the pattern of the YAML, as you can see here, is a bit different than what we use for this Meshery CTL docs section. So that's the main problem, and I've been trying to figure out how to manipulate the format of the YAML, and if we manage to do that, then the work would be much easier. That's what I'm looking into for a while.
But if we can't do it, then we can just manipulate it on the website, right? Like we could do it either way.
Yeah, we can do either way. There is also an option like they also given a reference to it, like instead of like customizing the default output for the command generated by the CLI library itself, there is an option to generate the custom tree or just the command alone. For in this case, for the Markdown one, I've used the tree functionality such that that's the reason why the entire section of the Meshery CTL Markdown files have been generated. Else, if I just give this Markdown custom, then it would generate for the single command alone. Here in this case, it's just root that would generate for only the Meshery CTL command alone. So if I just give like generate Markdown tree custom, then the command would know, okay, I need to generate a Markdown files for the entire tree of the Meshery CTL. So Meshery CTL system, CTL system channel, the entire tree will be unknown and then printed. So for the YAML one, I will look on it and work on it for a bit.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys? I guess
Yes,
not.
I guess that's it.
Thank you, Aditya. That was great. Moving on, we have Pranav. Pranav, would you like to demo the progress?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Sure.
So like
And
basically,
oh, nice. I think you're about to do it. I was just going to ask if you would give a little bit of an intro as to what it is you're going to talk about.
yeah. So I would be talking about how like basically improving the UI of Notification Center. Notification Center basically gives us the information about the status of the operation which we apply on the adapters which are connected to the Meshery. So my work was basically improving the error messages which comes from the failing operations. So right now I focus on EC adapter and its failing install operation. So earlier there was the information which was coming from EC adapter was very limited, as in like only the summary and the details of the failed operations was coming on. So what I did was I enhanced the event structure which brings the messages from the adapters. So because of which now we get the cause of the error code and remedy of how this particular error can be resolved. So this was my approach. And now I'll show you like how the new enhanced errors look like. Like if I want to install HT service mesh. Then it should give us a failing operation message. What happened? Yeah, it came. So this is the updated UI which I added. So this information basically coming from the adapter itself. So these two fields are empty just because the error.go file of each adapter doesn't include this particular information for this operation. So once we update that, then it would be coming from there. And I also added the error code which was from this which is related to this failed operation. So this was my approach. Any comments?
It looks good.
You've got a winner. I guess that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's probably a number of people who are holding back some comments, in part because the outcome of what you're showing, Pranav, is very much needed and has been something that we've long talked about enhancing. And that there's a lot of people who put in work into trying to bring a uniform approach to capturing errors and then going the like not just an extra mile, but like a couple of extra miles to capture errors, provide them with a unique identifier, kind of classify them, then go and define or go and suggest like what is potentially happening within the system, what the probable cause for the error is, and then even taking it a step further and saying or suggesting what might be remediations that could be taken, steps that could be taken to fix the issue. And there's a lot of that data floating around, and it's landed. Actually, if this will answer one of my questions, a lot of that troubleshooting information has landed inside of an error code guide inside of Meshery docs. And if you do me this favor, if you were to click inside of Meshery UI on that notification, it looks like the error code is hyperlinked. My question
it is.
Does that hyperlink land us on the error code guide?
Yes, it does. Like, I can show you 1 minute. Like, I've added the link for the error code guide here.
Cool. Okay. Not good enough. or rather, that's fantastic. That's highly appropriate. I will challenge us to take it one step further. Is Shivam Y on the call? Who's the contributor that was working on enhancing the error codes guide? It just got done landing and enhancing. Oh,
Shubham Tyagi.
Oh, okay. Shubham's not on, is he? No. Well, one of the last pieces of feedback for him had been to ensure to make a couple of changes. So can you open up the guide for everybody else that may not?
Yeah.
It looks like we're talking all about the docs today and how important they are. So the error code reference guide, this catalogs every known error code that we capture within any Meshery component. So any component that's using the Meshkit library. And it's a library that our projects use to define and capture document errors in a consistent way. Can you do me a favor and click on any of those rows? And then click on a couple of others, like, okay, good. Okay. The probable cause on that one is to go look at some docs on GitHub for REST. Weird. That's probably a suggested. Okay. But okay, so the last piece of feedback.
I was just saying that I think few information is not written on the files because of which it's not shown here.
Yeah, actually, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. The information isn't there because the contributors who created the errors didn't take the time to fill in probable cause or suggested remediation. So it's just missing in the code. But that said, there's a good framework and some of these are filled in. More of them need to be filled in. So for those that are looking to get into Golang who are on the call, or if you're already into Golang, a great place to make an impact is in these errors and documenting these errors in Golang. Anyway, the point was going to be is that you should be able to, there should be a unique anchor, a unique A tag for that is a combination of the mnemonic in the left-hand column combined with the identifier in the second column. If you were to add that as a hashtag, as an anchor in your query string, you would then be able to land the user right on the specific error. Potentially even we could have a modal invoked that like opens that particular error. Or if we publish those to individual pages, you could direct to that specific page. Right now, I don't think that there's
I think that yeah, I was also about to say that in the doc itself, the anchor is not added.
Yeah, I realize that. That's exactly why I'm asking for where Shubham is, because I'm going to reinforce and hammer it down on him that he should do that. and then uplift him and support him in doing that.
Yeah.
He's not going to get it done. So there's an opportunity for anyone on the call to do the thing that I've been suggesting, which is to combine those two fields into one. Don't have the columns separate. Or if you do, make sure that there's an anchor tag that has both of them combined so that you can easily direct people to the specific error code. And then in Meshkit, whenever there's an error that's generated, whenever someone creates an error, the message that's given back sometimes include, like particularly for Meshery CTL, I think we'll give back a URL to people. Sometimes we'll say they'll execute a command, and sometimes we'll say, oh, this happened. Here's the error code, and here's the hyperlink. Well, that hyperlink right there, it too could also have a direct link to this particular page. So anyway, back to what Pranav was doing. Pranav, that's fantastic. The thing that you're doing is fantastic. Like, we really need enhanced notification center data about what happened. It's equally so. Okay, that's good. It's important for us to provide troubleshooting information in the event of something negative happening, but it's the same. If you go back to your code, on the flip side, in the event that something positive happens, like, oh, Istio was provisioned and there were 4 control plane components and blah, blah, blah. And like, here's the things that were provisioned. Like, I'm sorry, if you go back to your, the Meshery UI and Pranav, if you go back to the, not in the code, Pranav, but.
Okay, UI, okay.
Yeah. And you go back to your example where you click on the badge on the notification bell and you show the details. Here, if this was a positive result, like, yep, Istio provisioned, well, the details of, okay, well like where or in what fashion, or did it do it, like, because people can ask for Meshery to provision any of these service meshes in a fairly sophisticated, like highly detailed way. And so were those particular configurations that they'd asked for, in fact, applied? And what does that look like? What's a summary of that? So as you and a collection of others on the call, Abi and others who are looking at this messaging and notification, this messaging framework and notification center, I think it's easy to myopically focus on the use case of a uniform framework for capturing and cataloging errors. But that same messaging framework, we want to capture positive messages as well, and the details that we might want to show a user. So,
okay.
Yeah. Now, to help refresh everyone kind of in this area, the way in which you facilitated the code that you've changed, some of what you changed was a protobuf file. There's each of the Meshery components speak to one another over gRPC. Part of gRPC, we use protos.
This one.
And the particular one that was created like 3 years ago is called, well, I think there were a couple anyway. This was called MeshOps.
This is the one which is MeshOps, I think.
Okay. Did you make changes to meshes.proto as well, or no?
No, actually, I think that only this one is used. The other ones are not used right now. Because this one includes everything which is written inside this and this. I feel like that. We are not using this one and this one. Because the output files are just for the MeshOps one. This one we are using actually. And it's produced out of this. So I feel we are just using the MeshOps one.
Can anyone else on the call confirm that? So Ashish, do you know? And Ashish might not be with us or able to answer. So, okay. So of what you had added, Pranav, was it was it it was just a couple of additions to an existing message?
Yeah, it was this message, event response. I added these 3 fields. These were already there, these ones. I added these 3. And then basically, like, I can show it over here. These fields brings the message from this particular part. So when we are installing it, so it's first trying to install the HTML service mesh. And then if it fails, then it takes this information from here and then streams it to the Meshery server. So I added these 3 functions from the meshkit. Like I'm using meshkit functions to get the error code, remedy and cause for this particular istio adapter. And then I'm then streaming it to the Meshery UI. Basically, I updated this event structure as this is the event structure which brings the information from the adapter.
And then Krishna, did you want to chime in? Cool. Krishna, I muted you just in case. So Pranav, what do you suggest that next steps here are?
I feel that first of all, like this same event structure is also used for the successful messages. It's the same structure. So if it gets successful, so it just takes the 2 information, that is summary and details, and if it fails, then it takes the extra information which I added. So I wanted to ask, would we be using the same event structure for both successful and failure messages, or we would be using different structures? Because for failure we might need different fields, and for successful messages we might need different fields. So I just wanted to ask that. But depending upon that, we can iterate over other things.
So Pranav, let me confirm. Please confirm me that success and failures are coming from the same functions, right? So they are streamed from the same. So probably successful events won't have any error codes, or we should provide actually one more struct there, that what is a type. So type can be one, error, success, and all. So the second approach looks better to me, since it is scalable as well as less error prone.
But
just adding one more event, adding one more struct to just defines if it is successful snack bar or error or warning.
But it's like that because before my change, every adapter uses the same structure only for both failure as well as successful messages. So if I do make a change, then I have to make change among everything, every code which uses that structure. Will that be fine? But right now, what I'm doing is that I'm not showing the other fields on the UI if the message is not error, if the message is not the failed one. So because of which I can use the same structure for both failure as well as the successful messages. So which one would be the better approach if someone can?
That is the question. And so actually we won't be able to answer it on the call because it'll require writing down a couple of use cases. I just sent a link in Zoom chat to this particular design spec. And this is where we need to ask and answer that question. We just need to press in here.
Other than that, Pranav, since you have worked so hard in it, basically, let's schedule another separate call discussing how success things can be done.
Okay, yeah, okay, fine.
Any other comments? Abi, if you do schedule a call, you'll just, for those that are interested, you'll post that in either in Slack or on the Discuss forum so others can join and kind of iterate. It might, just as we move forward into v0.7, into the next release, that this is a great example of taking, there's a number of design specs that will need to go under review and kind of, so it sounds like we've already got, we might have a topic all lined up for next Wednesday, next Meshery meeting, which would be, you know, maybe it's a completion of this design spec, or maybe it's just an iteration, like a step forward, a clarification of some of the use cases and how closely they're cut. Okay, all right. That's great, guys.
Yes.
This is really exciting. So yeah, please do, you know, please grab a hold of Abhi or Pranav if you're going to dig into that area. It is a pervasive thing. It does touch all the systems. All the systems should be hooking into, should be sending the same, using the same message format, so that those can be exposed to different clients in different ways.
All right. Thanks, Pranav. Moving on, Piyush, would you like to talk about the port forwarding?
Yeah, I'll share.
Mhm.
Okay, so wait a second. So this is the new feature in our system dashboard command, that is port forwarding. And as you can see, it ran successfully, but it started a stream of errors, which is not like outputted by Meshery CTL. It's from client go of Kubernetes, and the command actually ran for almost 4 hours. So the problem with the actual port forwarding, that it doesn't work for a longer time, has been resolved in our case. I'll just run right now to like show you guys. Let me first clear it. Okay, so the good thing that is now it runs on a random port which is available. Previously it was hard coded to 9081, which is like the standard Meshery port. But now, like in case of port forwarding, it will like search for a port which is available and start port forwarding to that port. Okay. So yeah, I'm logged in. Things are working.
It might help provide clarification to the user if you end up showing the source port and the destination port, or if you end up helping clarify a little bit about what the local port is that's being forwarded to the remote port, and then yep.
Okay, I'll add and log for that, like 8080 is being forwarded to 303, like this port. Yeah, I'll add a log here.
This could come in really handy. So just for recap for everyone else, when you run Meshery, just to clarify the behavior between Meshery CTL system dashboard and Meshery CTL system dashboard port forward is that.
Okay, so the difference between this is like we are actually running the actual kubectl port forward command with this flag, but with dashboard we try to get the accessible Meshery endpoint. Like we use load balancer type service for Meshery, so we try to get that accessible endpoint with dashboard using our meshkit functions. So if I run just dashboard, it's trying to get the service. And yeah, so this is the URL, like this is where Minikube is running, and this is the port where like Minikube is exposing that IP of the Meshery pod. So that's how I'm accessing Meshery here. Okay, so that's the difference between normal dashboard and the port forwarding. Port forwarding will come handy in any cases where cluster does not support load balancer. It doesn't have load balancer service, like exporting to the external IP. And if it is also not like it is not Minikube, and Minikube actually exposes its network on the local host like this, but other cluster like kind doesn't do it, and other tools also does not do that. So it will come in handy if someone is running on those kind of clusters. Any comments?
Do you think you worked out all the kinks?
What?
Did you? So last time I think you had said that we talked about this. You'd said that port forwarding doesn't really seem to be working. Like, sometimes it does, and sometimes. Do you think it's solid at this point, or?
Yeah, it is solid, but people might like it. It is what should I say? It is solid, but it will start streams. Like error streams, like just I was showing you before, but I cleared my terminal. Yeah, so it will start streams if it is being used for a longer time, like longer than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then it might start it. It is not like a guarantee that it will definitely start those error streams, but it might start those error streams, and that those errors won't explain what is going on. And just to like, if it will still work, even if those errors are being printed in your console, it will still work, but it might also not in some cases.
Are those things that we like? Yeah, think about that a little bit. Maybe those are things that we should show to the user or shouldn't, or when we do, set an expectation as to what that means to them. Maybe not a high priority thing, but
I tried to hide them, but there was no such option provided by ClientGo to hide them. Like ClientGo is also using some other package inside it to like do the dialer between the pod and here, and it doesn't verbose it, like it doesn't. So it will keep printing them, and some errors are just normal. You can still work with your in the UI, your Meshery UI will still work, and even if those errors are being printed, but sometimes it might stop working. Then you'll have to just Control C and restart port forward. That's the way to go.
Aditya, do anybody else have feedback for Piyush? Anybody think
yeah, Piyush, in the recent review I gave on the PR, I have showed for ports running already on 9081, the error message has been printed, and you already saw that, right? So on such cases, how the user will be notified if such port already rises? The user will not know, right? It would he or she would consider this is an error message, what's going on, why this port is already assigned. In such cases, how it can be handled?
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, it is not here. Let's go down back there. Okay, so previously what I was doing here, I was just directly using 9081 just like this. It was kind of hard coded, and then there is a function that I added here. It is a get ephemeral port. What it will do is it will actually go hit random ports and check if it is available. Okay, so if it is available, that port will now be used. So let's you can see here, previously the port was 34301 and now it used 46635. So the case of the port binding to some other service is won't happen now.
All right, glad to know that.
Any further comments, guys? Okay, I guess not. Thanks, Piyush. Moving on, Abhi, would you like to speak to your topics here?
Yeah, sure. That's one. Okay, so basically, Yeah. So actually, there is a basic thumb rule of using hooks. That is, it should be used only in the functional React components. So, so actually, the error was all originating from the usage of hook from the functional JavaScript, components that are not React ones. So that's why you were getting the tashes in the UI while opening configurators, some items in the configurators. So that is the one fix. Other than that, just realize that we are generating some schemas like dynamically from from the adapters. Adapters are themselves generating some schemas for us to be rendered as RJSF forms. So from there we have been we don't know about that that x-kubernetes-int-or-string can be a valid field actually, because RJSF always accepts a type field, but when we are using x-kubernetes-int-or-string, so the schema won't be coming up with any type field, because that is already understood from the key itself. So that's why there is just a tail from that we are that adding support for kubernetes-int-or-string. So these two are some exceptional fields. You're seeing these two are some exceptions that doesn't contain types, and we were just missing on those things, due to which we are running into some UI problems, schema problems. So these two are the fixes right now. Other than that, I was also working on some lifecycle testings, so Cypress, but it is quite not very ready to demo. So these are my updates today.
Abhi, there are a couple of projects that I'll point out as potentially having some reusable tooling here in terms of validation, schema validation, and this is related to, but not directly aimed at the issue with Kuma, I expect.
Yeah. So so Kuma, they generate components dynamically. Once, like Ashish has said in one of the previous calls, that what Kuma does is they generate components after they are running inside the Kubernetes cluster. So they don't generate static components, and we are totally relying on the static components generation from all the adapters. So that's why Kuma is one of the exception. So we have to think something else for handling the Kuma components, the generating the schema refs for Kuma components.
The validation that you're doing, so inclusive to this pull request, is there a validation in there? Validation of the schema?
Validation of which schema? Actually, by validation, do you mean
that any of the objects that we're going to present have the required fields, like validation?
Yes. Okay. So that is validation. So this doesn't cover that validation actually. But since no. Since there are only 2, 3, 4 fields, like the name, title, as well as type, and like these 3 fields only, that should be always present inside a schema object for rendering it into RJSF. So actually, this looks a good idea to create a function that validates all the schema at the first place. So probably I will create a PR for it, or I think Nitish has already done some work in the past on it. So probably try to extend it. Yeah, so this doesn't have to do anything right now with the validation. It's just about catching the new case we just get informed about. So yeah, these are the updates actually. Other than that, the Kuma components, we are not hitting into UI crashes right now because that is just got here, yeah, in this portion. But still, it's not ready, because we don't have any schema. So you can't actually use Meshops v2 for and generating any, using Kuma itself. But everything else, it would work as fine as it was before. Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, we just have a couple of minutes left. There was a PR that was merged during today's call, and that PR affects the build checks that run for all of Meshery's pull requests. Mario, if you don't mind, can you just let everyone know what those are, just the top level checks that are going to be run now?
Hello. Yeah, sure. Okay.
You've got 90 more seconds.
90, oh, okay. Then let me start sharing. Okay, just a sec. Okay, so can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, well, it should be over here. So pull request. Just close that screen, sorry. Too soon. Okay, sure. So basically this pull request is, it contains some tests. I don't have Meshery running, but basically it's for the configuration route pages. So I had to comment out, so I'll just show the file change itself. So basically, first of all, for the workflow, I added this instruction to run Meshery Istio along with the CI YAML workflow. And just a small note added on the MVM usage, just a recommendation on the UI README. And the most important thing is the data CY attributes that were added. This help like for the filters, header, Meshery app pattern, and so these pages and the actual test is it's basically okay. So here are the helpers, but basically, sorry, I'm a bit rusty with demoing this. So this started with since December, but yeah. Without further ado, so basically, here are the tests. And right now, these two are commented out because there's still some issues going on. But this requires further investigation of why these Kubernetes objects are not found during when applying the or deploying the configuration, but the filter works correct. So this array of objects is passed to this template. So this Cypress test, it'll just go through certain steps to just intercept some requests. This is running both the Meshery server and Meshery UI. And once that's done, the configuration page is visited. We wait for the request for the items from the grid to load. And then there's just this test template that makes sure to upload a file. So the data is taken from a test file passed through the test data object. And then so we wait for the upload to finish. And once that's done, So the request is intercepted, and all of this code is just so that that further actions just wait for this promise to resolve, and then we can continue with the actual deployment. And so once there are some checks, but so now we're just looking at the filtering. But eventually, and further PRs, this should also work for deploying. So this deploys now a filter through a local file upload through the page, and it checks that the response was a success response, and also the body structure that it's as expected. Well, yeah, I think that's it. Not sure if there's any questions. Yes, so just one more thing, sorry. So right now, this is the filter being applied. This is taken from the samples. So it's the HTTP auth envoy from the WASM filters samples. So I'm not familiar with WebAssembly, so I would not be able to give like a great explanation, but basically this is what it's used to test. It's looking good for now. Any comments or questions? Silence.
Yep. No. Just wanted everyone
approval.
to be aware of. Just wanted everyone to be aware of the fact that there's going to be new tests and to look out for them. And if there were, I'm assuming that they are all passing as of this moment.
Well, the one for the filter. So
Right.
as we
But
mentioned the other day,
yeah, that's commented out though, right? So all merge tests are currently passing.
Yeah. So the filter one is passing. The other ones, like there's still some things going on, but once these issues are fixed, we could just uncomment them, and it should be passing as well. Yep. So this is the location where this test is. So not sure if Ashish or I don't know who wanted to take a look into that, but maybe we can take that offline through Slack.
Sounds good.
Those issues. Yep. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mario. So since we are over time, we can discuss the rest of the topics on the next week's call. So thank you guys all for joining. I'll see you guys next week at the same time, and also on the also on the community call on Friday. So thank you all for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.